All right, hello everybody. So welcome, and we are going to, in this video, review a little bit about setting your patterns for your Neopixel rings in MakeCode. So what's so great about MakeCode is that you can actually use it on an iPad in the web browser, okay? It's all JavaScript based, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I'm going to do this on my iPad, and hopefully you can practice this on your iPads so that you get better at doing this. So when we come back, you'll have your patterns all coded and everything. So let's get to it, all right? So I'm on my iPad here, and so I have two things open. I have my web browser right now. Go ahead and open up Safari, and we're just going to go to MakeCode. So if you type MakeCode, you should see it come up here, Microsoft MakeCode for Microbit. All right, so once you're inside here, we're just going to start a new project, all right? And because we're using the Neopixel rings, we need to add an extension. We need to add some extra blocks that don't normally come with MakeCode, all right? So the first thing we want to do is scroll down to where it says Advanced. And you're going to open that up, scroll down, and look for where it says Extension. So that's where you add extra extensions that might not come with the microbit. So when I tap on that, I'm going to hide the keyboard. You want to look for the Neopixel driver, all right, because we're using Neopixel rings. So tap on that, and what you'll notice is there'll be an extra category over here for Neopixels. And it's going to have those extra blocks we need. Great. So let's go in there, and when we open up our first project here, notice we have these two blocks, on start and forever. So anything inside the on start block will run one time. It'll execute one time from top to bottom. And then anything in the forever block will keep looping forever. All right. So the forever block is great for like animations and things that repeat over and over, whereas on start are just sort of the things you need to get your program up and running once. All right. So the first thing we want to do is, let's put these underneath each other, is go back to your Neopixel and pick the top one where it says set strip to Neopixel at pin 0 with 24 LEDs as RGB. Now, that's a lot of information. You don't really need to know everything about that. Basically what this block is doing, it's setting that variable strip to equal the Neopixel ring. So it's basically telling your program strip is equal to your Neopixel ring, so that it knows what is connected. So we want to put that in the on start block, all right? Not in the forever one, because we only need to tell it set that variable once, and we'll refer to it later, okay? So what we're going to do now is start working on the pattern. So what I did here is I loaded in Notability. This is the pattern we were working on in class, but I'm just going to recreate this one to sort of remind you what we did to make that happen. So let's start with this top one. So if we look at this pattern, we know that it's pretty simple, right? You have a color, and then the next one is another color, and then the next one is the first color. So it's really just two colors that alternate from LED to LED. All right, so what we need to do to make this happen is use a loop, all right, because there is a pattern here. You notice every other LED is the same color. So to make this easier, let's go back to MakeCode. Well, let's look at the first one we're going to start with. Let's start with 0, okay? 0 is blue, and then 2 is blue, 4 is blue, 6 is blue, okay? So let's go back to our code here, and let's put in a loop, all right? So we're going to put in a loop that's going to repeat the number of times we want to add that blue LED. So we want to add that half of 24, right? Because it's every other. So there's 24 blue LEDs, or 12 blue LEDs. So we want to make a loop that loops 12 times so we can set all 12 of those LEDs. So if you go into your loops category, notice at the very top it says repeat 4 times. Let's pull that one out and put that in our forever loop. And let's make that now, set it to 12. All right, so this is going to repeat 12 times, whatever's in this block. So think about what we need to do. We need to say, at this certain place, at this certain number, set it to be blue. Now that number is going to change from 0 to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. So we also need one other thing. We need a variable. We need to create a variable that's going to count and change as we go up. So let's do that. So let's go to variables, and we're going to make a variable. And set the variable, give it a name. Remember, it has to be one word, or it can be two words, but no spaces between it. And set it to something that makes sense to what we're doing. So I think we're kind of counting. I'm going to call it counter, because that's what it is. It's kind of my counter. All right. And now notice that variable shows up. I can now use that variable. In fact, let's take that variable and just drag it out for right now. Now, it's not attached to anything, so it's grayed out, but we're going to use counter in a second. All right, so the first thing we want to do is think about the first LED we want to set. Remember, we want to start at the very bottom, the lowest number possible, because it's going to continue to go up and up, and we don't want to have to make it go back down again until it sets everything. So that would be at 0. All right, so we're going to start at 0 with the blue LED. All right, so what we want to do is set that variable counter. Right now we've made it, but we haven't told it what it's equal to. So let's set that variable counter to equal 0. All right, so go back to variables, and notice there's this set block. All right, and we are going to do this. We could do it at on start, but for now, let's just do it on top of the forever. Make sure you don't put it inside the repeat block, though. What happened? Okay, we're back after a little bit of a technical difficulty there. Okay, so I've got my counter out here. Make sure we don't want to set the counter inside of the repeat, right? Because the repeat's where we're going to make it change and get bigger. All right, so what we want to do is the first thing we want to do inside the repeat block is set a particular pixel on the ring to a color. All right, so where we do that is we go back to our Neopixel category, and actually you have to go underneath where the Neopixel, you select that and go to more, because there's actually more blocks that are hidden. And the very top, we have this set pixel color at 0 to red. All right, we're going to grab that one and throw that inside your repeat 12 times. So we can actually change that 0 to be not a fixed number every time, but it can be the variable. So let's throw the counter variable inside there. So let's look at this. In the strip, set the pixel color at counter, whatever counter equals, to a color. All right, and we want to make that color blue. Beautiful. All right, so we've set that color at 0 to blue. Now we want to set not the next pixel, but the one after that, which is 2, to be blue. Okay, so think about that. How much do we have to add to 0 to get to 2? Well, we have to add 2. So we're going to go back, and we're going to change the variable counter now. We're going to change it by 2. Okay, so if we go back to our variables, you have set counter, and underneath you have change counter. So this is where we can really change our variables inside this loop, and we're going to change counter by 2. All right, so now instead of counter equaling 0, it's going to equal 2. The loop, it's going to repeat back and go through the loop again. It's going to do it 12 times, and every time it gets to that block, it's going to add 2 to it. All right, now the last thing you need to know is we are just setting the pixel colors. It's not going to show them unless you use the show block. All right, so let's find that block. It's in Neopixel, and it says strip show. So I'm going to tap that and bring it out. And I'm not going to put that in the loop because I only need to set everything. I'm going to put it after the loop is done. So once I'm done setting all my colors on all my pixels, the last thing I'm going to do is hit the show, and that's going to show it. All right, so if we want to see how this looks, there is a little preview here. And notice, if I zoom in, notice this is sort of like a preview of what my pixel will look like. Now notice this one isn't round, but this is an LED matrix starting at the top to bottom. So the top one is 0, the bottom one is 24. So notice how every other one is blue. So that's working exactly how I want to do it. So now I only need to do the red ones, all right? So it's the same process, all right? So let's go back here. Oops. And we're going to do another repeat 12 times, okay? So for the red ones, we have to do the same thing. It's just offset by 1. So I'm going to go to my loops, and I'm going to bring out another repeat block. And I'm not going to put it inside the first repeat block, I'm going to make another repeat block here. And I'm going to change that to 12 as well, because that's also going to happen 12 times. All right? So I don't need to show the strip in there. I'm going to get that out and move that to the bottom. All right, so let's think about this. So right now my counter has gone up to about 23, 22, right? It's done 12 times 2 is about 24. What if I could take that same variable and set it back to where I need it to start again, which wouldn't be 0. Remember, the red ones start at 1. All right, so I need to set that variable back. So remember, there's 2 blocks in the variables. You can change it and you can set it. So let's find our variables, and we're going to not change it we're going to set it to in between the 2 repeat blocks. So once I get done with the first thing, setting all the blue ones, I'm going to now deal with the red ones. So I need to set the counter not back to 0, but back to 1, because 1 is where I'm starting to set the red ones. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the first repeat block. All right, and I think if I hold it down, beautiful. If I hold that block down long enough, I get this little menu, and I can duplicate it. And I'm going to drag that in there. So now, remember, I'm setting the pixel color at counter, which counter is now 1, and now I want it to be red. Beautiful. Okay. Oops. I think if you mess up, it's kind of harder on an iPad. I'm going to pinch and zoom. Let me zoom it out a little. Oh, okay. I think if you mess up, there's a back button. Is there? Oh, there's actually no back button on this, so you got to like fix it. All right. So it's a little tougher doing it on an iPad, but I like the challenge. All right. So now I've set the pixel at counter 1, which is 1 now, to red. And now I just need to also change the counter by 2. So instead of 1, it's going to go to 3, 5, 7, 9. So I'm going to change it by the same thing. So I can actually just copy that block. Duplicate, grab it, put it underneath. So that should take care of my red blocks. And if you notice on my preview down here, there's my pattern. All right, beautiful, okay? So this is for if you are doing every other, all right? Your pattern might have some different, uh-oh, the light's going out. Okay, I'm back. Whoa. That's crazy. All right, so your pattern might have, your ring, your design might have some different kind of patterns, but you can use these same principles. All right, so let's look at the one underneath here. So this one doesn't repeat every other. However, it repeats one color 6 times in a row. All right, 6 times in a row. And actually for this one, to make it a little easier, I might start the blue at 0 instead of at 1, just because it's easier to count up from 0. But let's try to tackle this one, okay? So we have 6 blue, 6 purple, 6 yellow, and 6 red. We just need to know how many times and where they start. All right, so I'm actually going to shift it over where the blue is going to be. Let me see if I can actually do this on here. I'm going to shift it over so blue actually starts here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the purple is going to start here. Yeah, and then I'm going to start the yellow. It's going to start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 6 red. So that actually balances it out a little bit more, okay? And it looks pretty much the same. It's just going to make my programming easier. So you'll see these things as you do this, some tips and things to make it simpler for you to do this. All right, so let's memorize this in our head. We got 0 through 5, 6 through 11, 12 through 17, 18 through 23. All right, so we're going to need 4 loops in here, right? 4 different loops. So let's go back to our make code. No. Back to make code. Now I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. And you're like, no, but it's okay because it's good practice to do this. All right, but I'm going to keep that start loop. I'm going to keep this up here still. All right, because that's pretty much universal. All right, so like I said, I needed 4 different loops that repeat 6 times. So let's bring those out. I'm just going to bring it out once. I'm going to say 6 times. Now I'm going to copy this block 4 times. 1, 2. I'm getting better at this with the iPad. 3, 4. Okay, let's see if I can get this one up here. Ooh, come on. There we go. All right. So there's 4 of them in there, and repeat 6 times. All right, so let's think about this, what we done. We want to set our counter variable, and we want to make it get bigger by 6. 6 times it's going to get bigger. And then it's going to set it to a different color. 6 times get bigger, all right? So let's do this. Let me see if I can zoom this whole thing back. Oh, that didn't work. Doing that. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's better. Got a little more room here. All right, so first thing I need to do is set my counter variable to 0. So remember, in variables, I still have my counter, and I'm going to set it at the very top to 0. Beautiful. Now, inside the first loop, I'm going to go back to my Neopixel rings, and I'm going to set... actually, remember, this is in the More area. Let me hide this for a second. In the More area, it's the very top one. Set pixel color at something to color. All right, so my first color was going to be blue, I think, right? All right, and instead of setting it at 0, I'm going to set it to the variable counter, which starts at 0. Then I want this to do this 6 times, so I'm inside a 6-time repeat loop, so that's good. I just need to make my counter get bigger, right? So inside there, I'm going to change counter. And before I did it by 2, because remember I was doing every other, but since I'm doing them right in a row, I want it to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to go up to 5. All right, beautiful. So now, all I need to do is take these 2 blocks inside the first repeat and copy them into the other ones and just change the color. So what was the next color? I don't remember. So we got blue, purple, yellow, red. So we got blue, purple, say violet. Got to keep changing the counter. And then blue, purple, duplicate. I think it was yellow, I hope. Oh my God, I have a terrible memory. Yep, yellow. Keep changing the counter. Counter's getting higher and higher. All right, and here's the last one. Last one was red. All right. And then finally, remember, if you want it to actually show up, you have to show it. So after all 4 of these 6 repeated loops, I'm going to go to my Neopixel and put out strip, show. All right, and I think that should do. Let me zoom in so you can see this. So I have first one sets to blue, does it 6 times. Sets to violet, does it 6 times. Sets to yellow, does it 6 times. Sets to red, does it 6 times. And then shows. All right, so let's open up my little preview here. Let's see what we got. There it is. 6, 6, 6, and 6. So work with these. Work with the pattern that you created. Try doing these, but also try doing some of your own. Try mixing it up a little bit and seeing if you can play with all these ideas. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you how we're going to make these patterns blink. All right, so go ahead and play around with this. If you need to pause the video and do it, that's fine. It should save on your iPad, but I'm going to show you in the next video how you can save and share your work with others. All right, but for now, have fun playing with this, and I'll see you in the next video.